Hey, hi Audrey. Can you hear me? Hi Reed.
Hello, how are you?
Well, good. Pretty good.
Good.
Better. I got outside today.
Yes,
I
that was
ventured
nice to be outside, wasn't it?
You know, I ventured out. I did some snow shoveling, so I feel
Yeah.
better. I feel better. I've been feeling kind of really, really weird. Just cabin fever, I guess.
Yeah, the winter plus pandemic equals
What's that?
time. I said the winter plus pandemic equals bad times.
Exactly. Like down in the dumps.
Yep, looking forward to spring, that's for sure.
Well, yes, which might be showing up just next week a little bit, 40 degrees. I mean, it really helps when I get out for those longer walks, which I have not been doing. So,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do when it's sub-zero temperatures. Yeah. Say, have you been able to get a vaccine yet?
no.
Oh.
My clinic, I had contacted me saying that they were doing this over 75 and I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
But so, and I haven't been contacted by them since then.
Okay. Did you put your name in the lottery or
No.
whatever they were calling it? Okay.
No, I've been getting some information from my niece who's she's really a very, very progressive thinker and has access to a lot of really great information, and it wasn't any kind of conspiracy kind of thing, but it kind of gave me some second thoughts. And I thought maybe I research this a little bit more, or just wait and see what other people are experiencing from getting it.
Yep.
My partner has gotten his first shot.
Okay.
How about you?
I did get the first one. I'm a volunteer at a hospice, and so they vaccinated us along with the staff. And my second one is due next week. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And which brand?
Moderna.
Moderna. That's what
Yeah.
Francisco got. Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't have any ill effects from the first one, but I understand that a lot of people react to the second one. So we'll see what happens there.
That's going to be the new way you introduce yourself.
Yeah,
I'm Reed and I'm a Moderna.
Yeah. And I've had one, but not two. And yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to end up carrying our vaccine cards around.
End up what?
Carrying our vaccine cards around.
Oh, you get a card?
Yes, yes, yep.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep, it's got your dose number on it and everything. So who knows?
We're not letting you into this venue unless we see your card.
Well, more like if you're doing online dating.
There you go.
Show me your card.
I wondered if they might want to do that for air travel. But I haven't actually heard that anybody is seriously thinking about that. But
Yeah, well, at this point, they're making you get a test within, is it 72 hours or 48 hours? So
yeah.
you've had the
Before
vaccine.
traveling on a plane?
Pardon?
Before traveling on a plane?
Yeah.
Okay.
They won't let you into I don't know if they stop you at security or where they stop you.
You mean the day that you travel? On the day that you travel?
You have to have one within 72 hours, like the preceding 72 hours.
Yeah, so if you don't have written documentation of your test results, then like at MSP, they have a saliva testing station, so you can
Oh, okay.
get a
Ooh.
fast track test done. I don't know
Oh.
how accurate those are, makes me wonder, but
Because Francisco, he needs to go to Mexico and see some family. He's spent
oh,
such a long time.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
had some deaths now
Oh,
that he hasn't been able to go,
mhm,
which has made him very sad. But
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
hopefully
sorry
he'll
about
be
that.
able to go within the next month or so.
Yeah, okay.
There's Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's really good to see people.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a while.
I was just telling the others here that I've just been, I mean, I've had some contact, with people and so forth by phone and so, but I just have not been out with the
Mm,
terrible cold. The terrible cold is really getting me down lately. It's really nice to see faces. It helps.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
And I'm
Yeah,
really
well,
grateful we're not Texas.
if you want to recover from that, go over to the Cub Foods. I went over there and I was there the first day it opened. I didn't realize they were doing a grand opening.
Oh, the new Cub,
The new old Cub.
the new old Cub. I mean,
Yeah,
from the renovated Cub.
Yeah. And that was so strange to be around that many people
yeah,
milling about.
yeah,
I would believe it.
strange. But it's good. Every one of our businesses that can get back up and going is a step in the right direction. So happy to see that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Are Mike and George joining, or did they just facilitate
No, they're
because they
not.
have the Zoom?
They're just Mike said he would launch it, but they're not joining this time.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know. I guess we will see if anybody else joins up, but maybe if we want to get started. Unless Emily, what's new with you?
As I'm still eating, I took a mouthful. Mm.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Not much new with me. I just jumped on to mostly to talk about Charter Yard and talk about potentially using some transition Longfellow funds to supplement some Charter Yard projects. So that's why I jumped on today.
Okay.
Well, tell us about it.
Okay. So we've started the planning meetings for Charter Yard. Me and Audrey, Wilbur, and Elizabeth, and Emmy. And I think we are looking at trying to expand the amount of garden beds that we're doing. So usually we've done about 30 units total. And I think this year we're looking at doing, which is usually like 24 singles and 6 doubles. Does that sound about right, Audrey?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And so we're looking at potentially getting more dirt and then either being able to expand and do maybe closer to 40 beds.
Wow.
Or 40 units. And then also potentially selling some dirt by the bucket. If folks like other people from previous participants or gardeners in general just want to get some good dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been thinking about just potentially expanding outside the neighborhoods of 55406. And we have Longfellow Community Council that supplements some of the beds. But we were kind of wondering or just brainstorming as of yesterday, what if we could maybe supplement some more if there's the need for other folks who are low income or have disabilities that might need a bed. And so, yeah, I wanted to kind of propose it because we have some money, it sounds like, in the transition Longfellow budget that we're not really utilizing. So it might be a good way to use some money.
And we're not to the point in planning where we have costed out what the beds are going to be this year, because we do know that supplies are more expensive this year, as a lot of home and lumber and that kind of stuff has gone through the roof with the pandemic. So we expect that, you know, the bed cost is going to be a little bit higher. But I think what we were talking about, Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, is possibly Transition Longfellow subsidizing for low income disability for people outside of 55406, because the LCC can't and won't subsidize outside of the greater Longfellow area. So that's been our those have been our borders for a long time. But we do get requests every year for people that are just outside of that. And so we were just trying to figure out if there was a way to expand into those areas and to offer the subsidized beds as well. So, and I don't know if I mentioned, but the balance right now is $2,632. And in the last year, Transition Longfellow itself has spent about $100. So we're not exactly burning through the money.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yes. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
And like, I know costs are not exactly knowable, but what has it been in the past?
As for a single bed, I'm trying to think of how we describe the height. Those are $70, and so the subsidized one, it's $35 to cost to the participant, and LCC picks up $35 of it. We also will do a very limited number of double height beds, and those are $140 if somebody buys them outright, or they're $70 if it's an LCC subsidy.
Okay, so even if all 10 additional new beds were subsidized by transitions law, it would be somewhere in around $500. That's if everything new were subsidized by transitions.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yep. Yeah. So we're not talking about a huge amount of money. Right, Emily?
So,
Right, yeah. And yes, I mean, we could look at, I mean, if the costs of, because lumber is so high, if the costs of even one bed are ridiculous, I guess that would be another thing we could talk about, which we didn't talk about, is like, what if they're, you know, if the costs are 110 per bed, do we try to just, you know, subsidize all of them down to 100 or something? I don't know if that would make sense or not ongoing. I guess I just, and then, yeah, so the only other additional cost maybe would be if we have, if we do provide some like refreshments and stuff for volunteers, but that would again be very minimal.
and I think a lot of places, I think, are cutting down on exchanging anything. And instead, I mean, I'm not sure what you guys want to do.
Exchange, what do you mean exchanging?
Well, you know, like at the gym, they're saying, don't use the drinking fountains. And I'm just thinking about giving out snacks and water, like
Oh, I see.
Friends of the Mississippi River does. Then
Yeah, let me just tell you where our heads are about that right now. You know, last year at this time, or last year when we were planning for it, we realized that the choice was to either not do Charge Your Yard at all last year, or else to do it in this really low-key, spread out into small teams kind of way, so that people were only dealing with people that they normally had contact with. So, you know, just 2 or 3 people in a pod instead of the garden mob that we're used to. And the feedback we got from volunteers was that people really missed having the socialization piece, and you know, the food is really just about that. And so we've been trying to brainstorm ways we can safely somehow bring people somewhat together. So that's where that refreshment thing is coming from. But I understand a lot of places are, for safety purposes, not doing food or drink at all.
It could just be as simple as like near the dirt pile where volunteers are coming and going to get dirt. We have some water, sodas, granola bars, things like that that people can grab as they're going. So
Yeah, individual packages.
yeah,
Yeah.
In the past, pre-pandemic, we had a lot of donations from like coffee and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But maybe they just can't do, those businesses just can't afford to do that kind of thing these days.
That may very well be the case. Yeah.
Maybe it's,
well, and I just think if we have all this money that we're not spending, why not spend it while we have a project going?
right, if it's a minimal amount, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I have these long-standing biases about individually wrapped foods and drinks, as well as I work in obesity research. The idea of supplying food and drinks to everyone whenever they do something is something
yes.
that has like trained out of us. So that's yeah,
Okay.
that's the bias I bring towards it.
Okay.
But we don't need it, right? If the people want, we don't need those extra calories.
Well, like I say,
But-
that is the approach we took last year, but it was really noticed.
It was what?
It was really noticed. It was,
Noticed.
yeah, people really missed that.
Noticed.
And
Yeah,
it's the
where the
opportunity to
refreshments?
socialize. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
also,
although-
when you've been working for 3 or 4 hours cutting up pieces of wood, it would be nice if you could have
Right.
some water. But yeah, we had decided, I mean, last year was so new into the pandemic that we didn't have food, or
Yeah.
we didn't share food or water between households or
cautious.
anything. Yeah.
Super
Obviously, there
cautious.
won't be anything like the previous years with all the food.
Exactly. Yes.
That's what they were missing, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Sitting
It
down
was the
together.
chance to get together and yeah.
Just sending them on their way with a granola bar is not going to replace the potluck party.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
So I know this has actually been talked about for a while, right? It's extending beyond 55406.
Yes.
And can you just remind me of the motivations for doing that?
It's to respond to the requests we get every year. Because the longer we do, it seems to me, the longer we do this, the more the word gets around that there is a neighborhood that does it, that knows how to do it, that's willing to do it. So more people want to know if they can get a bed through us. Like I say, it's neighboring neighborhoods for the most part. I mean, last year I remember we got a call from somebody in Brooklyn Center, and I can't remember how she heard about us, but she really tried to persuade us to drive all the way up there to install a bed for her. Yeah. So.
And I think, from my opinion, I think it's awesome that we have so many return customers, but there are folks that have, 4 to 5 garden beds, and why not if we have the volunteers, and we can, and the drive time isn't that much extended, having to go a few blocks further, why not tap into a new area where folks maybe haven't had an opportunity to get them, and maybe focusing really on areas that might be, if we're able to subsidize some more of the beds, maybe some areas that are more economically disadvantaged, or areas that are kind of more diverse than Greater Longfellow. So
I would vote for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at, I think probably Corcoran or East Phillips would potentially be a couple options. And I did email both of the neighborhood associations to get put out feelers and get some information if they felt like their neighborhood, that folks would be interested in something like that. So that's kind of where this was morphing into. Also, 55406 includes part of I believe, part of Standish, but not Erickson. And that's what I'm in Standish. So, I mean, that's really neither here nor there, but potentially, you know, would there be a way to cover all of both neighborhoods together? Because then maybe Standish Erickson Neighborhood Association might have more buy-in or feel more comfortable maybe subsidizing some support in the future too. So that's kind of why we've talked about expanding.
Right.
But at some point you have to put a limit depending on how many, because I mean, if you don't have enough volunteers, then, you know, like
Yeah.
going beyond 40, you know, might be way too way too much for the volunteer could handle.
Yeah, we, as Wilbur keeps pointing out to us, we don't want to get to the point where we're spending all of our time driving, you know, to get to where we're installing the beds. So we want to keep it closer to us. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's to some degree it will be naturally self-limiting, but I don't know.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. I saw that on Nextdoor, the woman who was promoting the Veggie Basics.
Yeah.
So that's a separate thing from Chart Your Yard now, right? Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
they're not tied at all.
That's correct. Well,
Right.
actually, I'm trying to think, did Elizabeth, was she going to work with them at all with that this year or not?
I don't know. I don't know. It was so I recognized the name of the woman who was asking about it early on.
Okay.
You know, it was,
Yeah.
she put it on Nextdoor, an invitation for people to sign up for this Veggie Basics class.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I did have a really brief conversation with Elizabeth about that, but I can't remember what she told me. As you recall, it used to be a part and parcel with Charge Your Yard. It was,
Right.
you know, you were, I think even you guys required participants to go through the basic training.
I don't
As
know if
well
it was
as meet with,
required.
you don't think it was required? Okay.
I don't think it was required, no.
Okay, and then, but you did require that they meet with, anybody who got a bed, meet with a master gardener so that they got some level of advice and direction about doing it. Yeah.
Right. Just to make sure their bed, you know, that what they were planning to plant had enough,
Yeah.
you know, the right conditions and so forth.
Yeah. And over the last couple years, the class, I think it was partially a timing issue. The master gardeners would want to advertise the class and get it filled before Charge Your Yard was even starting their planning process. So it was hard for us to sync. So we didn't get very many people into the class. It just kind of no longer worked.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's nice to catch up on what's going on with Chart Your Yard,
Yeah.
but I'm just aware that, is this something that you actually were presenting as an idea for tonight and to get a decision on?
Well, I don't think we need to make a decision tonight. The idea is to let you know that we were thinking about it, and then as we get a little more formalized in terms of costs and all that other kind of stuff, we can come back to you with a more formal proposal about it, you know, with exact dollars and stuff. Does that sound reasonable, Emily?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think if you feel like you want to do something more formal, I was just aware that the next meeting would be, you know, we're hoping to maybe open the registration for March 1st. So it would be kind of nice to know once, you know, as registration is open, if we could advertise or let folks know that we have the ability to subsidize. So, you know, so waiting till the third Wednesday in March would be too late, or maybe it's fine.
Which is going to be St. Patrick's Day, I'm just realizing.
Oh,
What's that?
we
It's
have
St.
to,
Patrick's Day, a green holiday.
that's exactly right. We need to be able to keep that sacred.
Oh, so we can't have it that day?
You're smart aleck.
I'm half Irish, so
I know
it'd
that.
be fine with me.
There
if
you
we-
go.
Yes, yes. Is it possible to have further dialogue on email
Sure.
once we get more information together?
As far as I'm concerned, sure. Right.
Yeah, we could just send an email to the group that's
Yeah.
on the planning committee and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. If you have concerns, let us know.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we'll proceed with funding X amount of dollars towards this or something.
Yeah, so if the applications open up on the 3rd of March, then presumably they're open for a week or two at least?
We usually keep them open about a month.
Okay,
I'm just,
so,
until they're sold out, and it seems to take about that long.
yeah, so, all right, so, yeah, I think it makes sense. I doubt you're gonna get objections to the idea of contributing some money. So details to be determined at a later point, but
Yeah,
if
okay.
you just want to have it known during the advertising
Mm-hmm.
part.
Yep.
To,
Yeah, I think
to have
sending
what?
out an email would be a good solution.
Yeah, okay.
To have what during the advertising?
To be able to say that there may be subsidies available for people outside of Longfellow.
Well, wouldn't you want to know for sure when you start advertising that that is available? I mean, wouldn't you want to have all that kind of in place before you start advertising?
That would definitely be the ideal.
Yeah.
But
So,
But-
yeah,
an unlimited number of subsidies regardless. I don't know. I'll pitch in $75 if Longfellow says no, if transition says no. So then there will be at least one single.
Well, we are transitioned. So it's, I mean,
Well,
this
yeah,
is kind
that's,
of the group.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's what transition is right now. The four of us right here. I mean,
or I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, we can, once we have a firm number, we can send out an email and make it, just so we have better
I-
numbers.
Personally would feel more comfortable doing that, Emily, just because I know that there are a few other people that
Yeah.
usually chime in, and if they can just get the opportunity to do that. Yeah.
oh,
Sure.
okay.
And
That
we
makes sense.
should be able to give you more detailed information after our call, after our Charge Your Yard call next week. So it's not like we'll drag this out forever. We'll get back to you
Okay.
quickly by email.
Right. And yeah, so yeah, everybody who's currently on our list, our planning group list, not everybody's participating right now, but those who want to can chime in and vote,
Okay,
on that.
I think that'd be great.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
So, and then an important question for my purpose is, what is your approximate date for doing this, for doing the installs?
I think we're looking at doing some pre-building in late April and then potentially a couple, I think it's still to be determined, but a couple, maybe 2 or 3 install days that, the first few weeks of May, hoping to finish up by maybe mid-ish May.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the timeline we used last year. And we were able to get them all installed, although we weren't doing 40 beds in, but anyway. Do you think you'll
All right.
want to participate as a volunteer, Reed?
Yes, it was a lot of fun, but then I was set to do it a couple of years ago, and then I broke my ankle a week before.
Oh,
I was not of any use whatsoever. I don't remember what happened last year,
Mm.
but yeah,
okay.
broken ankles take you out
Yeah.
of commission.
Yeah, we'll share the dates and more details as soon as we finalize them, I promise, because we'll need a lot of help.
Mhm.
And I might be able to help this year. Depends. Yeah.
That would be great.
Really
Jean.
yeah. I'm still really behind on my projects.
Okay, well, we promise not to Not to expect too much, but it would be great to have you because you're always a lot of fun to work with.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's always been fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So that's
So
our
then are
charter
we
yard.
moving on to our, what you wanted to talk about, Reed, regarding the aligning with the LCC's group?
Yeah. Audrey and Emily, are you guys covered everything that you wanted to cover?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So at some point in the past 2 weeks, I just thought to myself, there are at least 1,000 people in Greater Longfellow that would be willing to volunteer at least on a monthly basis for environmental activities. And if you do the numbers, that's like 25,000 hours of volunteering a year. And I'm going to say that between transitions and LCC and the Sierra Club and FMR and everybody, that's just barely being touched. It's just a tiny fraction of that is actually being used. And so I've started to ask myself, why is that? Like, where's the obstacle to getting people out? And I've definitely got some ideas about what gets me to show up and what keeps me from showing up. And so thinking maybe one of the things I want to talk about, if you guys are game for that, is just exactly that. What gets you to events and what keeps you from going to events? And then
Well,
the second part would be
I haven't really, I used to, I used to go to everything that transition. I was interested in lots and lots of things, and before the pandemic, I was there for lots of things. So regarding climate change, energy conservation, you know, and Leslie McKinch used to, have get organized, which I kind of helped get organized to, just things that are not related to those things. Like she had a Qigong person was doing a class, and she got us involved in going to that class. And I'm trying to think of,
so why did you go?
because I was interested in Qigong. And I mean, all the different kinds of things were just really of interest to me, and I like hanging out with Leslie and Peter. They're great people. But it was, something I was already interested in, and it was, and I knew about it. We had a monthly newsletter that Leslie sent out, that all the different activities. So I was able to note what they were, when they were, get it on my calendar.
And are there things that kept you from going to events?
Okay.
So here's, maybe I should say what's been on my mind. The two things that keep me from going to all the environmental events that are going on. One of them is, of course, the logistics and of the timing, being at a certain place at a certain time. It just doesn't work all the time. And then the other thing is, there are things that don't interest me. And I think that's really common with a lot of people. There are things that are going to be interesting and things that are not interesting to them. And then the things, it's interesting. So what you talked about, the reasons why that you do show up. One, sounds like the social relationships were a big part of it. And then interesting topics, the flip side of why I don't go do things. And then the newsletter, so having a good way to find out about what's going on.
Yep.
Right. And
And-
because it was close by, it was in the neighborhood, it was close.
Yeah, so location as being an
Mhm.
important factor. Mhm. Audrey and Emily, do you want to chime in with things that have drawn you into activities or kept you
Sure.
away from them?
Can I ask for clarification? Are you specifically talking about transition Longfellow or just environmental activities?
Environmental activities.
Okay. It really matters to me that things are well organized and communication about them is clear and happens ahead of time. I have learned, I think this might be an age difference thing. I like to know things as far in advance as possible. I'm less likely to be available tomorrow if I just hear about it today. So, and it seems like a lot of things, not just environmental, but a lot of things these days are kind of seat of your pants sort of thing, that people prefer that style. And that's doesn't always work for me. If I'm actually volunteering my time to do something, like with FMR or something, the fact that they're organized enough that it's a good use of my time so that I'm not just showing up and, nobody really knows what it is we're doing, or it's, or there are too many people for the work that needs to be done kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I would agree with Jean that the socialization piece is good. And if you get in with the group where you like the people and just like spending time with them, that helps. That makes it more likely that I'll stay engaged. And I also like to do things that are in and for the neighborhood. It doesn't mean that I won't do other things. I have done other things with FMR on the river that aren't Longfellow related, but I do like that aspect, if I can do neighbor stuff.
Yeah. Emily?
I don't know that I have much to add. I think that I would just echo a lot of what Jean and Audrey said already.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of overlap with what motivates me.
Yeah.
We'll say, so let me try and remember all the things that I had. One of them was, like you were just saying, Audrey, I want to look around after I've spent 2 or 3 hours and say, we did this,
Yes.
accomplished.
Yep.
Come back and do more.
Yes. Yep.
That's really important to me.
Yep.
I also, something else that really gets me to show up is if somebody asks me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Sometimes that's directly, somebody calls and says, hey, are you going to come to this? And sometimes it's not quite so direct. It's like Dan Schultz with the wildlife certification.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's covered in the messenger. I saw it. I would not have done anything about it if he hadn't actually shown up to, I think he was at a transitions meeting as well as the ERG
Right.
meeting.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Now I've met him. I'm impressed with him.
Mhm.
He showed up. Well, I'm willing to do some work for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that social component for me, like for me, it's the difference between going out and doing, I pulled a bunch of burdock last year, and sometimes it was just on a dog walk. I'd pull all this burdock, and at the end I accomplished something, but I was tired and annoyed. And then a couple of times I had some of my neighbors come with me. And then at the end of it, I'm like, okay, when are we going to come back and do some more?
Yeah.
That having other people, being part of a team, for me, even as an introvert, it's really energizing.
Yeah.
I also, a couple other things. Recognition of people, of taking part in activities. I think I wish it weren't the case, kind of an ego-driven thing, but I have found that when organizations recognize their volunteers, it makes me feel more part of that group. Like the FMR has the super volunteer t-shirts that they give out if you do a certain number of hours. And it's just a little thing, but at the same time, it just makes me feel like, well, I guess I better show up to the next event because
Gotta show you earned that shirt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Leslie just in a, I think it was in a potluck meeting. I don't know where it was, in some kind of group meeting. And she just, when we were going around introducing each other, and she to say something about yourself, and then Leslie just said, "You got to talk about how you were so great at that Chart Your Yard, and you were up and down on that truck. You know, I can't believe, you know, that you were just up and down of that truck. You were like a monkey, man. It was, you know," and she just was going on about it. It was just like, oh, wow. Gee whiz, I didn't know. It was really fun to be, you know, recognized like that. It was.
Yeah. So those are the things that I was thinking about. And then you guys have touched on a couple of other things as well. And what it got me thinking about was over the last year in particular, maybe it's a couple of years because of my broken ankle too. For me, I've been going to meetings, but not doing as much activities. And I'm thinking that organizations that are run sort of like it's the workplace, where you've got and you're taking minutes and doing this. It's essential to have some of that. But just as kind of an idea, I really want to be part of a community of people who just get together and do activities together, who have some core beliefs.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of the underlying idea I've been is think of it more like a church where you just show up and do things and you know people and you find some people you like, and sure there's some people who probably annoy you, but making it a bigger thing. And one of the things about that would be having much more frequent events. And, I mean, I'm thinking at least a weekly basis, having things going on where people can volunteer, because that's how you get to know people, is by seeing them again and again. And it also gets around some of those issues like, okay, I'm busy. If I'm busy tonight, not coming to the transitions planning meeting, well, what, like four months before I see you guys again?
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not thinking transitions should be running events every week. What I think is kind of missing is, we got Sierra Club, used to be in Seward, but they still have some activities going on here. FMR has things going on, transitions, CC.
What's FMR? What's FMR?
Friends of the Mississippi River.
Oh, okay.
So they work on the River Gorge. And I feel like this goes to what you said, Jean. Nobody's collecting the information saying these are all the things going on here in the neighborhood. Instead, it's just piecemeal. You'll read in the Messenger about the guy who's doing the mushroom planting, the mushroom garden.
Mushroom. Oh,
yeah.
And there's no coordination. As I've mentioned, ERG is going to be meeting at 7:30 tonight, because there's not much, if any, overlap between the two groups. And
you say they're not meeting tonight?
they are meeting at 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30.
Okay.
So it's, rather than coordinating between those two, it's each group is operating independently. I think it really influences how much how easy it is for volunteers to connect to activities and to enjoy them. And I don't have answers for this, but I want to start raising the question, do you guys agree with me that out of I don't know how many, there are at least 15,000 residents of Greater Longfellow. I think it's quite a bit more. Do you agree that there are 1,000 people among them who'd like to be doing something?
Well, I mean, that sounds about right, but I mean, is that based on some data you have? Or is
Well,
it-
when I went around my Wonderland, my 6 blocks,
yeah.
and I asked people, okay, what would you be willing to do each week for climate change? They they claimed that, like, when I added it all up, they'd be willing to spend 160 hours a week across less than 200 houses.
Okay,
And that's just in 1 week. So then you multiply that by 50 and you're talking about 8,000 hours a year.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're not going to get all of that.
Right.
But if I can get that much just amongst my immediate neighbors,
Mhm.
there's a huge pool. And I know people in the neighborhood who are very concerned about environmental issues and never show up to ERG. They never show up to transitions. They're just not connected. They haven't been brought
Right.
in.
Yeah, yeah. You know, can you talk more about the, is it ERG committee?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the Environment River Gorge is.
Yeah, so all I know basically about it is the name. I know a few of the things that they've done. I guess I look at them as more being conduits for things like the wildlife activity or the uh, lawns to lagoon, you know, that kind of thing. They get involved in that. I guess I'm not really clear what it is they do, the goals behind it.
Yeah.
I was
Are you
looking
a
at,
spokesman for them? Are you, what is your role with that group now?
Um, I, I have been a pretty regular attendee for
Okay.
a couple years now, except they stopped in March and just never met again because because staff time was all diverted. First of all,
Oh, sure.
COVID, and
Yeah.
then with the George Floyd and the rebuilding Lake Street, all of their staff time got diverted. So
Okay.
only because I sent an email around saying, okay, it's been a year. Is there going to be another meeting, or did you guys just like vanish into the woodwork?
Yeah.
It is a
what
really
did they
good
say?
organization from transitions.
What's that?
It is it's quite different from transitions.
Okay.
In what
A
way?
lot,
In what way? Ways.
it's more formal. You know,
Mhm.
everything they do has to be approved through the board. So you have
Yeah.
to go through the minutes, and they're better linked to the city because LCC has a role within the city,
Right.
you know, as
Yeah.
an outreach organization, basically. The people who are on the committee, I think pretty much everyone has something that they do, a project they're interested in, and they're really, like, I'm very impressed with the people on the committee, but they've taken on small projects and small to medium projects, and they do them well, but they're not, I mean, when I think about transitions, you know, the whole concept of transitions, they're not taking on any really big things. Nobody's working on energy issues, energy conservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more they've got a handful of projects. They do have money, which is one thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. How large is the committee?
You know, the biggest meeting I've been to probably had about 8, maybe 10 people.
Okay.
Typically, there's a half dozen that are regular attendees. And you've got people like Daniel Scholes, who's doing the wildlife certification for the neighborhood. He's
Yeah.
not there every time, but he shows up. Carolyn Carr, who's very involved with wildlife
Mhm.
activities, and she works with Friends of the Mississippi River to set up activities. got a lot of that going on. And it's actually, it's a good organization. Like she was talking about the park board candidates, because they're all up for election this fall. So getting a candidates forum for park board candidates
Oh,
going,
yeah.
because they're just a natural connection for the city government, because they can use the park buildings without paying fees.
Oh, okay.
So they're again, they're a little more official. They've got some structure
Mhm.
transitions doesn't have, but they're also not capable of just taking new ideas and just running with them in the same way. And they really don't have any sort of social component, I would say, connecting people to other people.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it and thinking, I'm willing to do something every week, as long as it's something that's rewarding for me. I'm willing to spend several hours a week doing environmental issues. I think a lot of people are willing to do things pretty frequently, but you need to give them opportunities to
Mhm.
things that are local, very local, things that are at convenient times, things that are interesting, and you need to kind of build that social
Yeah.
network. And I'm not sure quite how to do that.
Well, I did, you know, while we're still in this pandemic mode, I just think it's just really kind of tough to, you know, because people get really tired of Zoom meetings, you know, and and when we can't gather together in person, it's just like, well, what? Otherwise, you're just in a Zoom meeting talking. I mean, it's like, until we get more post-pandemic and where people feel much safer about gathering together, in groups. I I just wonder how easy it is to be able to get people, even if you organize something. What are we going to do if we can't get people together in person? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, when I think of all the years that Leslie and Peter guided, were the head of this, and God, it was something going on 2 or 3 times a week, it seemed like. It was, and there were like social things. There were like making things, like making your own toothpaste, and beer, and soap or whatever. We had what was called a make and take thing, and it was at the church and stuff, but and you had someone come and teach you how to do this, that's just one example, but there were so many different kinds of things like that, where it was kind of you learn how to do something, but it was in a group together.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you about the pandemic situation. I am thinking though that it will end, and we can do outdoor activities in several months. And so now I just want to start planning. I'm not suggesting this is going to start next week. We're going to have
Well, even in the summer, it's still fairly,
So go ahead, Audrey.
I was going to say, I hear what you're saying, Jean. You and I have commiserated about this before, so I feel like I'm living for good weather and the opportunity to be outside and doing things with other people. So to me, April starts the opportunity to do things again, which I would love to do. So I'm willing to do, I'm willing and interested in doing that. I think we have to think about it in terms of smaller groups. We're probably not going to be able to do stuff on the scale that Transition Longfellow was doing. But I don't think that means we can't do some things or do them and break things up into smaller groups rather than one big group.
I mean, like outdoor
Yeah, and focus on outdoor stuff
kinds of things.
for
yeah.
now until things get better and more people are vaccinated and
Right.
all that good stuff happens. Yeah, yeah. I want to throw out my own bias about something that I'm particularly interested in Emily's response to it. To me, it makes a huge difference if there is somebody who's really good at communication, who's getting the word out to people. I think Facebook and a website can be really great places to pull people in. And I remember when you were doing some of that work, Emily, you know, it's a talent, it's a skill to be able to do that rather than just having everybody go out to Facebook and make a posting. I mean, I understand we can do it, but I'm saying I think it's better if there's somebody who's designated to do it and who can pull the information together and present it in an interesting way that grabs people's attention and that can do it routinely so people know, hey, I've got some time this week. What's Transition Longfellow doing? Or, you know, whatever group, and be able to go to that page and look and see what's happening.
You're talking about Facebook?
Facebook is one option, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't even gone to Transition Facebook page for a long, long time, but I do go to the website, you know, and
yeah.
I mean, and the website is set up for, you know, for putting those kinds of things, you know, activities on there, you know.
Right. Yes, I agree.
But if it takes people having to go to the website as opposed to like Leslie used to put out a monthly, I think monthly, or was it weekly? Monthly at least, you know, a whole newsletter. Yeah, monthly. And
by
all
email,
the things,
right?
huh?
It was by email, right?
It was by email.
Yeah.
It was by email. And you would see, oh, here's the transition newsletter. And it listed all the things going on that month.
Right.
The activities.
I think that makes a big difference in being able to pull people in and engage them on a regular basis because they know that there's a place they can go to find the information and like-minded people who are going to be doing it. So I think it's unfortunate that we don't really have that level on either our website or Facebook page anymore. I think it's worth having somebody designated. And I think, Emily, at one point you asked about paying somebody to do it. And again, it's kind of like, what else are we spending this money on? Should we look at doing something like that to get, I mean, obviously we can't pay a lot, but can we get
Yeah, I mean,
some action there?
right. So I know for some of our big ticket items, like I've been helping, you know, some of the not big ticket, but like some of the bigger events that we had, like a picnic that attracted 40 plus people. That was a great turnout. And that was in 2019, I believe.
Yeah.
But I posted it on probably 4 or 5 different sites and newspapers, LCC, I mean, other transition groups, and it does take a lot of time. And I think
that's the thing, yeah.
I think it all goes back to the biggest issue with Transition Longfellow, and this is regardless of COVID, although COVID's just, I think, made it front and center, is that we do not have enough core volunteers that are willing to step up and organize this. Like, I think we're all, you know, and that's the problem, and that's been the problem since Leslie left, is there is not, we need several people or one workforce that is going to step in and organize everything, and we just, we don't have that. We've tried, and that's, I feel like that's where we continue to hit a dead end.
Yeah, when we try to get things going, it kind of peters out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this about that. I agree, and I mean, we've had some a little bit of an email conversation about this. If you want people to show up, you need to ask people to show up. You can't just say we're having an event and expect them to show up. It takes a lot of work, like you're saying, Emily. On the plus side, I do feel like the more momentum you build with people, the easier it is to get them to show up.
Yes.
Once they're looking for the transitions events, and if they have a good time, if it was a good experience. But yeah, I think nothing's going to be a huge success if you don't have people who are willing to ask other people to show up. Having the electronic communication, that's like a basic necessity. And then to have real success, you need some word of mouth going on as well. I'm willing to do, at least in the short term, to do a fair amount of organizing work. At some point, I get burnt out on that. And that's when, yeah.
When you say word of mouth, are you talking by phone or?
Ideally.
Right, and you know, it's like so many people just don't even use the phone anymore, you know? I mean, I do. I mean, I with my closer friends, I do, you know.
Yeah, but so I'm just like the difference between so I don't know if any of you know Hillary Oppmann, who is someone who's very interested in environmental issues and whose husband works for the DNR. But she has not been involved with transitions or ERG to the best of my knowledge. Like if she posts an event and invites me via Facebook along with everybody else, whatever. But if she emails me and says, hey, can you show up to this? I'm probably going to show up. Email,
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, email's not as good as text. Text isn't as good as in person.
Right. Yeah.
But just that using those personal connections of, okay, someone I know and like is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'll go.
Okay.
Pushes people over the edge. So what you were saying, Gene, it sounds like Leslie and Peter
They were,
were doing a huge amount of the work.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
they did. They
Yeah.
were
And we're very skilled at it and very devoted.
very skilled, and
Yeah.
devoted, very well. And Leslie's a workhorse, which gets her in trouble sometimes. That overdoes, you know. But yeah, without her, it wouldn't have been nearly what it was. No, but it was really inspiring, and you know if I were younger, and if I didn't have all these things looming in front of me that I need to get done for myself, that I seem to have a hard time getting done, I would try to do some of that work, you know, of organizing, advertising, you know, things, and I mean, there was just so many things that I really truly enjoyed, and I feel like I should do some giving back of all
Yes.
those good times that I had of transition.
But we need a way to share the work in a coordinated way for that to happen. So no, if nobody's going to be that person, then it needs to be parceled out somehow.
Mhm. Right. Well, if you had two people who were really in sync with each other, who knew each other pretty well, and who could really work well together, and could, really synchronize, and
we don't have that. I mean, I think I don't know that, we've had a lot of outreach. We've tried a lot to try to get that energy. I think we've had momentum on and off. And I think that, we've tried, but I think even just the folks who are core member, who are like on the planning committee, I mean, myself included, I had some momentum and tried for a while and got kind of burned out and don't want to take that on. And, Jean is reporting she doesn't. I don't want to speak for George and Mike, but I think Mike has kind of alluded to some of that in his email. So I think that's what it comes down to. What
was that you said about Mike and George?
Well, I don't want to speak for them because they're not on the call, but
right.
But I think that they brought a lot of energy into the group and did a lot of work for the group, and it's a lot of work. And if you are kind of feeling like you're doing it on your own,
right?
Yeah, it's like maybe people should only be allowed to be the workhorse for 3 months. You'll do it for a few months and then we'll get someone else to take over for you.
Well, then in there lies the rub.
Well, it would be nice to be able to work as a team so that there isn't any one person who's getting burned out, That would be.
See,
really.
Leslie and Peter, they just, they were just a team that was,
Right.
that just
Yeah.
really worked,
Yeah.
and then Leslie just seemed to be able to bring in people to do different things at different times. But then she, she realized that a lot of people just, could only do it for a very short time, and then you have to get somebody else, so.
Yeah.
And so here's something that's been on my mind. So I was talking to Josh Hudek, I think he's the director of the Sierra Club, and I know him personally. I didn't know all the things that they're up to. There are so many organizations that have activities going on, some of them locally, and individuals, but there's nobody who's sort of coordinating, hey, you're interested in this broad set of environmental issues. Here's who you should go to. They've got an email list of people who might be interested to recruit from. Here's a calendar that's going to have all of these things on it, not just the transitions calendar, but the Sierra Club calendar, the LCC calendar, the FMR calendar, everything that's going on in the area in one place. I think if that existed, if there was a central resource, then it would be easier to get the events going. I'm thinking of the mushroom guy, whoever that was, and the urban forest, the urban horticulture guy who wants to have fruit trees all over Lake Hiawatha, to give them a platform to come to talk. I think there are enough people are interested in doing events.
Yeah.
It's more, there's no structure to get them an audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I got hooked into all these events that were going on, sponsored by other people. Was that what Leslie did in that monthly newsletter? Bless her heart, she just knew, she found out about all these things and put them all into this monthly newsletter, and with the graphics and everything, and the time and location, and and just one long newsletter you could scroll through and just see not just transition stuff, but all these other things that were going on, sponsored by other folks. Yeah, that we're all kind of connected, they're all kind of sustainability associated. But
And
But it was
I,
great, being able to go to, just to see right there where all, oh, wow, I want to go to this, you know?
Mhm.
right now, I feel like I'm willing to put in a fair amount of time into doing something like that. I can definitely put in several hours a week, and sending out newsletters. They may not be as good. I can do that. The thing for me is the reason I get burnt out is if people don't show up. So
Yeah.
you can spend a lot of time. I feel like I'd like to hear from Mike whether this is what's going on for him, particularly when you're doing all sorts of things on the computer. You're putting in a lot of work, but if there aren't human bodies on the other end, then
Mhm.
you feel like
Yeah.
you've wasted your time.
Right. Yep.
And so that's why I also feel like having a community where if people said, you know what, I've got an idea, I'm going to do an event, and then other people were committed to showing up for the event,
Mhm.
would make it easier to keep things going, building that energy. So that's another question I have is, and I've always asked, I mean, I think about this myself, when I'm doing something, am I willing to make those phone calls and say, hey, I'm going to clear burdock down by the Greenway, come with me. It's easy to just put in a message out to my neighbors through the Wonderland Facebook group. It's a lot harder to knock on their door and say, here,
Right. Yeah.
a shovel, come with me. But when you do it, people do show up. That's my experience. Do you feel like amongst the planning team for transitions, there's an appetite for doing a lot more events, of attending them?
Well, some of the that are on our planning group, I, well, like, I know Aggie, I almost feel like taking her off because, you know, Aggie Hager, who used to, you know, was wife of Bruce Gregg. I just don't think she probably even wants to get the emails anymore or to be on the planning list. Okay. Now Clyde Cutting, you know, I haven't heard from him for a long time. So I don't know if he's even interested in being part of this group. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, I know Andrew Edelman, he isn't really interested, and I just include him because he and I sort of stayed friends, you know. You know, so we really got a really small group now. So
Well,
that I know is, or who, you know, I don't know who else to recruit, you know.
so how big is the broader list though of
Yeah, there's a broader list, and I don't have access to that list. Mike does, you know, and so I don't even know who's.
I thought you did.
Probably, I think it's close to, isn't it hundreds, if not close to 1,000 or something followers on Facebook? I mean, it's a pretty healthy amount, but we've put out I mean, there's been opportunity for folks to step forward to, you know, to be in some leadership position, and we just haven't had interest.
Yeah, but so it's interesting. I know what motivates me and what discourages me, and I don't know that it's true for other people, but I think particularly since Leslie and Peter left, a lot of transition planning has been about transitions, not planning other events. And people,
Before the pandemic, we had, you know, Emily and Audrey, you planned a number of events, and
I was gonna say we had a streak there where it felt to me like we were doing things like maybe monthly. I don't think we've ever done things on a weekly post Peter and Leslie. I don't think we've
Right.
done things on a weekly basis, but monthly, with mixed success. But we had, we were going along for a while there. But I think we were starting to lose steam even before the pandemic really hit, if I'm remembering correctly. Where we weren't getting as many people
Sounded
coming
why?
to things.
And we stopped doing the kind of the cornerstone of our events was like a monthly potluck and movie where we had some kind of movie on sustainability. That was kind of that every month at a church, local church here in church basement. And, in the wintertime, we'd get up to like 30 people, 35 people come to that, and it was really, I enjoyed it. People like to get together to eat, for one thing, and to socialize, and that was kind of and then after Leslie and Peter left, well, I kept that up, kind of pushed to keep that up for a few months, a number of months, and then one of our people just said, well, I don't think we should do those anymore. And she was someone who's kind of influential in our group, and she is involved now. But she says, I don't think we should I think we should just do them in our homes. Do them in our homes. It's not because we have to pay for the church, but we did collect money. So if a donation, you can make a donation. What was I lost my train of thought here. Right, anyway, we just for them, and also you had to do a fair amount of work to get the movie together. If it was in order to present a movie to the public, you had to get the permission of the person who created the film. So that involved a bit of work.
Emily, are there particular, I mean, obviously you're interested in Chart Your Yard. Are there other transitions activities that you were part of that you were really enthusiastic about?
I mean, at one point I was pretty enthusiastic about a lot of things. I think we started, or I kind of stole the idea, and we all ran with it about Transition on Tap. And so that was a monthly get together, monthly event. And some, it's like you said, some months great turnout, some months it was just like me and my partner and why put together this, it's a lot of work to put together. And when you're an introvert and you don't really want to lead something anyway, and then no one shows up. So, so then we kind of divvied it up and took turns doing Transition on Tap, which I think worked better, but, and kind of each person had their own idea, but the interest, and we were doing that monthly, the interest dwindled. We did I've done a mending group. We advertised that, no one showed up. I think the potluck was pretty successful, but that was a lot of folks working together to do that. We did some outreach to get folks signed up at the some kind of green fair at Roosevelt. And we had tons of people signing up for interest. It's just having the folks that are willing to kind of facilitate or pull together the events. That's been the issue.
Yeah. So
that's right. We haven't been doing any of that in more than a year, right? Going out and trying to recruit new people by going to other events, other related events.
Yeah, I think it's been a while. But I mean, at this point, we could recruit for Chart Your Yard, but.
Yes. Well, I'm wondering if we couldn't use that as a tool here, Reed, because we do need to make sure we have enough volunteers this year. So if we recruited, we're talking with people that are already on our list, because we've got a pretty big list of previous year's volunteers. If we talked with them not only about volunteering for Charge Your Yard, but also made a pitch for getting involved in the core group.
So I'm so many things going through my head. First of all, I want to say this because the other meeting starts in 12 minutes, 13 minutes. I just want to let you know that I think it's through the Lawns to Legumes, they may contact you through Charge Your Yard and say, hey, they're tentatively planning maybe a fall event, and might reach out to see if you can pass on information to the volunteers to see if they're willing to help out with that. Everything everyone's saying really resonates with me. That thing about being introverted, boy, like this need one really charismatic extrovert to go and bring everybody in to the meetings that make it just so fun that everyone shows up.
Yeah.
You have to advertise. Charismatic person needed here.
Who cares about the environment? All you have to do is tell jokes and look pretty and bring people in. But I do, so it's interesting. Once I'd said what I said in the email, I was like, oh yeah, look, Transitions used to have all these social events, which I didn't go to. And it was because I looked at them as, kind of interested in that movie, but not that interested in that movie. Or Transitions on Tap, maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not. What I was realizing is sometimes you need to go to things not because they're just interesting to you, but to support the other people and to make those social connections.
Yeah.
And I've really been trying to do that over the last year or so. If somebody is doing something, I'll try and help out. I'll show up just for moral support.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And so in retrospect, I wish I'd gone to more of those transition events.
Oh, we would have loved to seen you there. We had some great events. We would have loved to have you there.
And I went to a couple that were fun. But I think that's like, how do you change that to be the mindset of, this is just what I do on Thursday nights or whatever, every other week or every week, whatever. By default, I'm actually going to go to something, not avoid it, as opposed to church where you're supposed to show up, and if you have an excuse, then you get out of it. Instead, it's the opposite here, where you're trying to get people to go for the first time to something. And that's so hard without literally asking them via phone or whatever, hey, you should show up. And for those people who sign up on those lists and get added to the email lists are great, but you really need somebody to email the person and say, hey, we noticed you haven't been around for a while. Can you come to this, please?
Yeah.
Amy and Tom.
Nice to see you.
Audrey, do you remember Amy and Tom? Were you involved? Well, I know maybe they were really involved at one time.
They're the ones with the two adorable little girls.
No, they don't have any children.
Okay.
No, they're adorable people. They're a young couple. They moved to California. They're really involved in transition when I first joined up, and then they moved to California for a while, and now they're back, and they live just not very far from me. And then last summer, I ran into them on walks, and then we got together to go out to dinner once, and I said, oh, will you be interested in joining our group again? And Tom said, yeah, I might be interested. And so then I said, well, you got to get, here's my number, call me. I'll contact you when the next meeting is. And I did. And well, then I just haven't heard from him. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, it does.
Well, I was going to say that could be the pandemic.
But asking someone one time is not enough either.
I know. But I've just kind of been half-hearted in it myself. So, you know, and until I get some of these personal projects done, I'm just going to be half-hearted in it, you know, because these are important things I need to get done for myself. So, um, yeah.
Well, Reed, given that you gotta leave for a couple of minutes, what are your thoughts about, do you think this is worth talking about further, or think about it some more, or what are you thinking right now?
I am so busy avoiding working on my dissertation. Lots of time.
I see, it all becomes clear.
No, I want to give this a real go this spring. And I think I've got some connections, and I know people who know people to try and put together events. I'm willing to do the calendar. I'm willing to do an email summary of the calendar that goes out to people.
Wow, that's great.
Well, I'd like to have a little, I need to talk to Mike to get some help on how to set up a good calendar, like figure out the best way to put this together is.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I'm going to make myself a miserable introvert by asking all of you guys, hey, it's time for you guys to ask other people to show up to these things. Will the events we can get together, getting the people to the events is the hard part. And that's something I can't do by myself. So I'm going to ask you guys to show up. And I'm going to ask you to ask some other people to show up. Is that something that seems reasonable?
Yeah, I'm willing to do that.
All right. So I'm going to be in touch, and I don't know what should be transitions and what should be LCC's committee, and whether there needs to be yet another organization, another central warehouse for this information. If you guys have thoughts on that, let me know. I'm planning to be over the next couple of weeks trying to figure this stuff out and emailing to the planning group. Say this is kind of what I'm looking at here. Anyone who can pitch in with ideas, please do so, and just kind of make sure I'm not going off the deep end on anything.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Put together activities.
That's just so great that you're volunteering to do that, Reed. I'm just so impressed and happy and happy. Yeah.
And if I do it, then you have to pin a medal on me at the end, because that recognition component matters.
All right. I'll start looking for a
We'll
bottle
do more
now.
if we can get past the pandemic, we'll do more than that. We'll give you big hugs.
Okay. All right. Well, I better go get the water before I switch over to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Bye,
Hey,
everybody.
thanks, everybody.
Bye. See everybody.
See you all.
Hey,
Okay.
Emily,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
up with the milk jugs on your wall?
Oh, you like my skeleton?
Yeah. Oh, is that what it is? Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
I sat
that
here.
is cool.
I sat here for my work meeting. We had a team meeting, and I was like, I'm gonna show off my milk jug thing. Yeah, I'd show it to you closer, but I'm not good at angling the camera, but you can kind of see the body.
Yes, yes.
But so it was for Christmas. I saw one of our neighbors has it, like a milk jug skeleton that they hang up for Halloween, and so I was put it on my list, my Christmas list, because I was trying to think of some ideas for homemade presents. So I thought maybe my mom would make it for me, but she's like, I looked at the directions, it was too complicated. So she gave me a coupon for enough milk jugs to make it myself. So she gave me like 10 or 12 milk jugs. So Monday, when I had the day off, I figured, well, I got all these milk jugs, I better put it together. It took longer than probably it should have, like 4 to 6 hours or something ridiculous.
That's not that
I
long.
would have guessed though that at least that long. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was a lot
I
of
mean, that
work.
was
Yeah.
complicated.
But how
It
cool.
was. Yeah.
How fun.
Yeah. I hope it was kind of fun.
I never
So,
guessed, Audrey, that that's what, or Emily, that's what it is. I mean, you got
Yeah.
a good eye, Audrey.
I didn't see that it was a skeleton. I thought it was some complex because I know how you are with reusing stuff. And I just thought, well, I bet she's got some system for, I don't know what that could possibly do. I'm going to find out.
no, I'm glad you asked because I would wonder too if someone had it in their background. But it's hanging up for a couple of days and then I'll go upstairs for Halloween. But
Yeah. Oh, cool. Very
one
cool.
of my coworkers is like, you should find some like glow in the dark paint or something to like paint on it too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Now,
So-
next September, you could have a workshop on making that. Using
Yeah,
doing
that's
that, have a
true.
little Halloweeny music.
That's
I
true.
feel it.
That could be. I like that
Event.
idea. There we go.
Oh.
Goodness.
Well, it was good to see both of you tonight. And
Yeah, you too.
we'll see what happens, right?
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
All right.
I'm excited. We've got some real energy going here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think
Yeah, that's
so.
good.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Have a
Take
good
care.
night.
Talk with you soon.
Yep.
All
Yep,
right.
love you. Bye-bye.
Okay.